I started feeling like this numbness over on the left side of my face. And it just grew and grew and grew. It just started one day, just right here, kind of like your skin is tingling, like when your hand falls asleep or your foot. And then the next day, I'm going to hit my left instead of what I'm looking at, my chin. And then it went to the half of my face. And then it went to the whole half of my left side of my head. And now I've gone to the doctor in the meantime. Okay. Then it went down my neck, only on the left, down to my shoulders, like day by day by day. And we couldn't figure out what it was.
Lisa, how did you find carnivore?
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I love following your show. Um, I have been a diabetic for about 20, maybe 21, 22 years. I've lost count. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm exactly 20. Anyway, um, and I was not overweight when I was young, maybe a tiny bit, but not really anything of essence. When I was 30, I started gaining weight, kind of slowly, kind of gained weight. And a friend of my mom's, I worked for her. She was my boss. I was a teacher, and she was my principal. And she said, "You've gained a couple of pounds this year." She said, got to catch it now. She said it in a motherly way, which I got extremely offended. And I was like, whatever. I can take it off anytime I want. And, but I guess I didn't want. And so, so anyway, so there it went. And eventually, I started feeling like this numbness over on the left side of my face. And it just grew and grew and grew. It just started one day, just right here, kind of like your skin is tingling, like when your hand falls asleep or your foot. And then the next day, I'm going to hit my left instead of what I'm looking at, my chin. And then it went to the half of my face. And then it went to the whole half of my left side of my head. And now I've gone to the doctor in the meantime. Okay. Then it went down my neck, only on the left, down to my shoulders, like day by day by day. And we couldn't figure out what it was. They had checked me for, was I having you know, Bell's palsy? Was I having like a heart attack, or was I having a stroke, or was I having, they did it for the little, I don't know, TIAs or something. I think they call it. I don't know. It's been too many years. Yeah.
Yeah,
The itty
TIA,
bitty
that's
ones.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they couldn't find them. They did MRIs. They did all the things and they couldn't find it. And all of a sudden, this lady who's a nurse was about to exit me um, from the emergency room because I ended up in the emergency room. My doctor couldn't figure it out. I had already gone to the emergency room once. They couldn't figure it out. They had sent me home. But then this lady turned around. Now I'm Mexican American, all right? And so when that's not, I mean, like Mexicans usually know when they look at me, they can tell. But like other people that aren't, I was an army brat. We were raised all over the place. We weren't raised in South Texas, so it wasn't a thing, right? Like my accent, I didn't have that. But um she turned around and looked at me and she kind of looked at me funny and she said, "Has your blood sugar been tested?" I said, "I don't know. I don't I don't think so, but I don't really know." And so she went in and the doctor came back and they checked it and I had like 625. They admitted me to the hospital. It was wow, which, so people who've had diabetes know that that shouldn't go above 120. But for people who don't really know, that's not a thing. Like the number doesn't mean anything to them, but I was way, way above. Anyway, so, they told me to take insulin. And I was like, I'm a teacher. Are you crazy? I'm going to lift up my stomach and go click and put in insulin in front of my kids. I have to take them to lunch. I have to bring them back. I have maybe 15 minutes to eat in between that. There's no time to go to the bathroom and go do that personally, privately. So I said, no, I'm not doing insulin. They gave me other medication. Okay, okay, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, and there I went. And I just was, I tried to take good care of myself, but, you know, I'm ADHD, very disorganized, I didn't really know it at the time, but, but it's hard for me to focus, hard for me to follow in on things. I go off on rabbit trails all the time. And and so it would be very late that I would work. I would like, if I had a deadline, it'd be okay for me to work till 3 in the morning. So I got very little sleep most days, 3 to 5 hours, like literally. And then I ate what I could in that time. I didn't like to eat during the day because it made me tired. But I ate in the evening though, and I made up for it then because food just got, it didn't matter how much I ate, I was still hungry, like hungry, hungry. Not just I wanted something, but I was actually still craving something inside. Okay. So I moved to Mexico. When we were retired, my husband wanted to move to Mexico. So here we are. It is hot in this place. Right now it's cold, so I'm wearing sleeves, but normally, no, this would not be that. I would be in a, you know, dress for that weather, but that cold front hit all the way to here. And so when I got here, I started swimming. There was a pool at the house that we rented. And then my driver started sending me these videos in Spanish. Now, I learned to speak Spanish once, I guess, when I was in eighth grade. My dad went to Vietnam and we went to Mexico and we learned Spanish. But it wasn't part of my regular daily life. So I just had it that one year and that was that. So I come back and I'm like, all right, so this driver sends it to me and he's like, he's my solid driver. He's helped us out with a lot of things, but like I don't move around and get different guys. Anyway, he sent me this thing and it was part of this group called with Frank Suarez, and he's got like all these videos on YouTube. Um, and he calls it the 3+1. Okay, so 3x1 diet, where 3 parts of your plate is veg and meat, and then you have one little carb. So for a Mexican, all right, the Mexican diet consists of beans and rice and tortillas. And if you're not from here, it's going to be beans and rice and arepas, or it's going to be beans and rice and some other kind of bready thing, right? From different places, they have different ones. Well, you're talking 3 carbs servings, and that had to cut out. So I started doing his diet and following that, and I lost a good bit of weight. Well, not a good bit. I lost about 10 kilos, maybe about 20 pounds or thereabouts. And then I kind of stalled. And so I started getting stricter with that carb thing. And I just, because I was watching by now I was watching other things on keto online in English. And so I was, so I restricted more and more um, my carbs. And then, but I found some little, keto dessert sort of things that I could make that I knew had, because I knew it had nothing in it but almond flour, coconut flour. And other than that, no carb, right? Okay, sure. But, those things, you just want that treat. Okay, so that I kind of stalled out and then I started watching some other things. And in the meantime, I had some family members who had been sick with, my mom has diabetes, her mother had diabetes, all my mother's siblings, all her siblings and cousins. No, my mom's cousins. So my mom's mother, I'm sorry, it's crazy, but we have a big Mexican family, 12 people in my grandmother's family, 12 kids. And then, yes, and then all their 6 to 12 kids. So when we had family reunions, which we do, and we have a land grant in Texas. And so anyway, there's still in the family. It's not my family, not my immediate family, but anyway. Okay, so we go over there and it's like 500 people at this thing, at our family reunions. It's insane. But 95% of them had diabetes. So it was like, well, that's what's going to happen. But then I started thinking about, just kind of watching these videos that my driver is sending me. And I'm like, okay, I get the message. I'm like following it. Okay. And so, my grandmother started losing her memory about 80-ish. somewhere 77. She died when she was 93, but she had many years where she lost her memory and then she lost other functions, daily living. My mother is now 88 and has is losing her memory. This beautiful, vibrant woman who was political and active and gung ho, charged to the fourth, you know, kind of a person. Um, First councilwoman on our, city council and, the place where I lived, first Hispanic woman, that sort of thing. She was that kind of, a forerunner, right? Well, she started losing her memory and would get lost. And so, she lives with one of my sisters and, she's a good sport about it. She kind of has forgotten some things, but she says, I don't really remember where I am right now, but that's okay. I'm in good hands. I'm with Layla. So, so, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I know what my future is. In the meantime, I had an uncle, and it was by marriage, but it was my uncle, and he lost a toe and lost another toe, amputated from diabetes and maybe liver problems. And so I just started thinking about what that meant for my children having to take care of me. In the meantime, I weighed at my highest about 250, and then I had lost quite a bit of weight doing Zumba, and then I guess about 40 pounds. This was some years before, back when my dad died. And then they put me on insulin because my numbers were not good. I had them charted out. I had like a 10.8. When I came to Mexico, I had a 10.8 A1C or HA1C, I think y'all call it, right? Yeah. And it had gotten up as high as 11 point something. It was high because I just told them, well, I do my best, but like, no. Do you follow your diet? Well, kind of, but not
So
really, you know.
this was when you'd already started this Frank Suarez diet.
No, it had been before. I'm sorry, as I told you, I kind of wander around. In the days before I left the States is when it was at that point. And when I got here, my first one here, actually I charted them out and collecting all my stuff, and I just went to the States and had everything redone. Okay, so I was at 240 pounds when I moved here. My blood pressure was about 150 over 80. My A1C was 10.8. And yeah. And on low carb, I thought I had lost more weight, but I really hadn't. When I charted it out today, because like I had all these kind of like all my lab forms and I had put them together by date because I'm trying to track what good it is. This is before you and I talked about, doing this interview. But I had only lost about 5 kilos. I thought I had been more like 10, but I found that not exactly. So I started doing carnivore in March of 23. And I was at 8.15 A1C at that time and 214 pounds or 97 kilos. So in the meantime, now I was at 82 kilos last year. And then I ate all those things, those little, like when I went home for Christmas, I ate all these things. We have recipe books in my family that are like our family's recipes, our treasured recipes that other people in Mexico do not eat. Our family has had that land in Texas for, I don't know, I think it was a 10,000 acre land grant from Spain or one of those way back. Like, and we've had it for, gosh, probably since about 1700. It's been a long time. Yeah. So when they make them at Christmas, it's like that's the only time you're going to get that sort of thing. So, and they're very unusual. So I ate some of that stuff last time and I was like, I couldn't stop. When I came home, I was like, okay, I had to lose a lot of water weight. I got my legs just ballooned up. They were just blah, horrible inflammation. And then I came home and talked to the doctor, and he gave me some water pills, and that kind of took out the inflammation. And then I changed my eating back to what I'm supposed to be eating. But I did still have a few carbs. I've been pretty faithful on the other stuff mostly, but I mean, it's a long slog. So then, really, from last December until about July or so, I was eating a little bit of carbs. So I'd eat some Doritos that my husband had, or over here they have like turkey soup or chicken soup, and then they put these, tostadas, little tortillas that are fried up. So I'd have three or four, not very many. But for me, I was diabetic for so many years. That stuff is just all in me. I have a CGM, so I know what it does to me. And my body does not, it has an immediate effect. It is unforgiving. It does not just, if I were, you know, 25 or 30, maybe that would be one thing. But, I'm 67 and I've had this a long time. And I worked up to it for a long time because they didn't used to call it prediabetes. They didn't used to mention that. They didn't tell you. They didn't even know it. They didn't call it that, and they didn't alert you in advance or really tell you what the effects were. So now I know because now I've seen it in family members. I've seen amputated legs. I've seen my uncle die of it. I've seen my grandmother die of it. I've seen my other grandmother die of it on my father's side. It's like, what are you doing? When are you going to get serious? So then July, the reason I started really tracking this more carefully was, so I've been doing better. So like, let's see, my, okay, I was doing about, I think my blood pressure was generally at about 120 to 127 over, I don't know, 70 or so. But well, no, sometimes 135. And my weight was still, I was about 160 pounds. Well, finally, it's like, but I kind of didn't ever budge for the year. I didn't gain any weight, but I didn't really, I go down a little bit, but I'm within 5 kilos, I might say. And now I've been on Ozempic and those kind of things. I've been on those for 20 years for diabetics, not the higher dose like you get for weight loss, not that, small doses. And so I have some right now. I think I'm going to go off it because it does slow down your ability to digest. And since we don't need any fiber, you know, that's slow. Okay. That's not fun. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, you do kind of gain a little bit of weight. So it's hard to maintain it. Anyway, so but I had a scare when I went on this bus trip that a lot of the Mexican people here in town go on. They go touring around Mexico to the bigger cities and go to these, religious, Catholic, like a pilgrimage sort of thing, but not really a pilgrimage. You're going on to go visit the cathedral, or you're going to go visit that saint's shrine, but you're also going to go sightseeing in other places and do other things, go shopping, etc. So I went on this, but you're on a long, long bus drive. So I'm drinking coffee, nothing else. And I came back and I had a level 4 out of 5 kidney disease reading. And my doctor said, you're about to be on dialysis. This is critical. You need to go to see a nephrologist. I was like, I'm on a what? How did that happen? I said, no one's told me anything. I've never been warned. Never. I mean, so it's a little high, but it's always just slightly elevated. So, no one's ever said or mentioned, hey, watch this. But like, I'm tracking these things, and I suggest people track it if they've been ill for a long time. Anyway, so I find out, oh, bloody hell, I am high. And so my nephrologist was like, if it weren't for that trip, and if you weren't extremely dehydrated at the time, I would say it's time to go take a biopsy and put you in for dialysis right now. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he said, but take a month or two and go work on your diet, no more drinking, don't take any Tylenol, don't take any, no acetaminophen, no NSAIDs of any sort. Get all your medication and get off it. Unless you absolutely need it, do not take it and only take your metformin for your. I've already come off insulin, by the way. I used to take 50 units. So, yes, I have beat it back, way back. I don't take any insulin. And I only take metformin. I did mean to tell you that because I think that was your original question out to the public was, has anything been cured? So long term, it's that. I've been not cured because if I eat wrong, it's right back at, my numbers will go right back up. But it's been beaten back substantially. My insulin, I had my insulin checked when I went to the States for December and it was at 2. So that's really good. It should be less than 10. So
Right.
I was
Do you
like, boom,
know
boom.
your A1C?
She did not take my A1C. My last A1C was, well, it's been 5.4, but it went back up when I started eating wrong again. Okay. It went to 6.42, 703. So they're going to be doing one here in, I think the next month. I think they're going to be doing one when I go back to the nephrologist this next week,
Right.
and we'll see.
So when you say eating wrong, but you've been pretty strict since July.
Oh yes, very, very
Right.
much. Now
Um,
the only thing I was doing wrong, well, as far as like carbs, it's a low carb item, but it does have some carb, and that's pecans. So I had been eating pecans because, over Christmas, I'm like, I've got to have a coping mechanism, something. So I've been using allulose because I was watching a lot of videos talking about allulose and all the research done on it, and that it actually, like Dr. Boz talks about, that it actually goes in just like a GLP-1. It's an intake inhibitor, right? An uptake inhibitor, I think. That, in other words, it fills in the slot where glucose would come in, or insulin would come in, rather. And so into the mitochondria. And so it's good and it's cheap and it's not real sweet. So you can put a little bit on something. And so I use it on my brown butter bites and I use it on, well, I did it on pecans. And so then you have kind of like a desserty feeling, but you're not motivated to keep going. But sometimes, I ate more than, you know, uh, the amount. So the carbs that are in the actual pecans, not the allulose, but the pecans, it just has the right texture and bite, because I roast them in butter, make them all yummy. So it's bad, really bad. Pecans are out of the question. They're a red light item for me now.
right. So because once you start, you just can't stop.
Well, no, 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 but I can stop, but I don't kind of want to. So you know what I mean? Like I'm more, they're kind of, it's just too easy because they're easy because you can pick them up, and, if they're made. And then I noticed when I was gone, and I thought, well, maybe it's cold, but it's not. It's still over here. I have some kind of pain in my thumb joint that I've never had before, and I'm like, you sound like an oxalate to me. You need to go away. And so I think that's still glucose. And so, yeah, and I'm back doing Zumba. I do that daily.
What's the status of your kidneys?
That was really good news. Since I got like scared straight, you might say, right, from that diagnosis in September, uh, by December the 21st, my renal function so my creatinine had gotten to 2.31, which was the one that said, oh my gosh, you're at level 4. And I'm back at 1.36. I was at 1.31 before, which is in the, okay, you're slightly elevated. Well, you're a diabetic. And so it's not unusual that after 20 years, you still have that. So it's not gone. I can still tell that there's um, uh, that there is a problem there. But I know it's not the insulin, so I know that it's probably just I just have to keep at it longer. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to stick with it and be extremely strict. I've taken out the little bit that was the now I've eaten cheese all along, and I know that makes people stall. So uh, here in Mexico, you can't get meat like you can in the States. It's very hard. You can get hamburger patties made, or you can make them, but only at like Costco or Walmart. You cannot buy them, or Sam's. You can't. In a Mexican place, they will absolutely have um, soy and usually pork mixed in. So, I mean, I don't mind pork. I eat pork. Pork is a lot easier to get here and cook. But um, I don't like the way it tastes in a hamburger. And then so, or you have to make it from scratch. So as far as, I kind of live on the fast thing. I've got a lot of stuff to do. I'm busy. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
So since that's the case, then I do eat, some, I eat some cheese, and especially if I'm going to be around people or if it's a party or something. And, there's always parties here. I'll just say that. I think part of the expat life in Mexico is drinking and, and eating.
Yeah.
So,
I think expat life anywhere is not good for your liver. It's
no, it's
yeah.
not. So I've learned to have like great fun. Nobody knows I'm not drinking. I drink mineral water with lime, with limon, with the Mexican limes, which are not like a lime or a lemon. I don't know what they're like. And salt. So it's like an electrolyte beverage that I drink. So good. Anyway,
Nice. So how are you eating day to day? Like, what does the menu look like throughout the day?
I'd say at this point I eat eggs and bacon, and I brought back some equip protein with no flavor. Um, it's made from beef isolate, and you can't really get it anywhere except in the States. So I had to buy it over there. They're real expensive. Well, for me. And so you can't get it over here, at least not yet. So hopefully they'll start shipping. But in the meantime, um, because I feel like I need to get um, my my protein up. Um, I feel like I am not when I don't I kind of quit logging my stuff. I use my net diary, and when I log it, I see that I'm not really eating that much, but I do lose a lot of weight that way. But it's I'm sure I lose some muscle, a little bit of muscle too.
You're eating bacon and eggs, and then you're having a protein supplement. That's all.
No, if I can, I'll either eat like two hamburger patties. I might eat chicken or wings or something, but I eat pork belly and I eat pork rinds. It's pretty high fat, so I'm sure that's why I'm not losing weight. I'm like, I've got to cut back on that, but on the other hand, I had some hair loss, and so it was like, can't not eat your protein and your fat. You have to. So I'm kind of in that place where I feel like I have to do that, even if it causes me to gain little weight until my body doesn't think I'm starving, you know. So right now, I just need to get into equilibrium and get back to, you know, uh, my workout plan and stuff. When the weather is bad here, we're kind of in the outside where I do my Zumba. So we don't do Zumba on the days when it's too cold or wet. We don't do it.
Is your husband joining you in this?
No, he's not. He is not. And so um, I have a separate room where I keep his foods. I say, no, during the meal, you have to live with that. If you want, I mean, and he told his brother is a carnivore for over a year now, doing goes great, etc. But and he convinced him to start, and then after about 2 days, he was in a bad mood, and he quit. So hopefully he'll go back to it. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not cooking anything in the house. He can deal with it himself or whatever. It can't be in my presence because if there's peanut butter, I'm about to eat a spoonful of that sucker, you know?
Right,
So,
right. From July until now, like what's the main thing that motivates you to keep going with this? Is it the diabetes, the kidney disease, those kind of things, or is it related to other stuff?
well, it's related to the diabetes, kidney, and then memory stuff, and the things that I know the future that lies before me. Um, I love having energy. I don't. I feel well. I don't know. I don't think I act my age. I'm pretty sure I'm extremely immature, and so it's okay. I like it that way. But
Sorry,
I
how
have a
old
lot
are
more
you?
fun this way. I'm 67, so but I feel great, and you know, like my friends and I, we all go sing karaoke on Friday night, and I'm like, I bounce into the room and bounce around on the stage and dance to everybody else's songs and whatever. I'm having a good time.
Nice.
But
That's
no, I
nice.
mean, I love the way I feel. I love my energy. I'd like to go ahead and keep I know I've lost. I know a lot, like I measure my ketones every once in a while when I'm pretty sure, I do have a keto mojo and I measure, but they're kind of expensive and it's a pain in the butt to do. So I don't do it all the time. And because those are other ones. They don't ship over here. You have to get them in the States. I can't get electrolytes over here. Everything to be shipped over here is extremely expensive. So if I go home and I buy it and bring it home, sure, no problem. But otherwise, I just have to cope. So I just do what I can to cope, to stay on the thing. But, I guess what my current plans are, I see what it's doing to the people around me here in this town. Um, People die who are very young, and they're interested in their health. They're always talking about how much, oh well, there's this thing or that thing, this berberine or inositol or curcumin, and you know, I heard this was good and I heard that was good. Well, not as good as getting rid of the carbs, honey. So
Yeah,
I just
not
figure
as
I
good
just
as
need
real
the
food.
pictures. Right. And so satisfying. So, yeah, when I can get a steak, I get a steak. And now, there is a place where I can get one. So, probably maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I'll eat a steak. Otherwise, it's burgers or eggs is mostly what I eat. That's my mainstay. Although I do eat uh, like beef hot dogs, beef franks, or sausage like uh, bratwurst and that sort of thing. And I'm sure it has other stuff that I'm not supposed to have in there, but we just don't have that much. They do have meat here. I just don't know how to cook it because it's like super thin. And Mexicans know how to cook it just great, but I do not because
A lot of the things you say about the what's available and how things are made there, it reminds me of being in Japan. It's, when I hear people from the States or the UK or Australia talking about, the variety of steaks they can choose from and going to the butcher and that kind of thing. And it's just like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that.
they they don't have it. See, I go to a butcher and they do ribeyes, and I just tell them I just want it really thick because I want it to be rare. I eat my meat rare. So, or I try. So I wanted to be really thick. And when you find them here, they're about half an inch at the most. So, except to that one butcher, that they do come frozen, pre-prepared, because they know they have Americans and Canadians and Brits that come here that, that like things a certain way. And he made me some filet mignon that were not filet mignon, but they cut like filet mignon, they cook like filet mignon, and he tastes pretty good. I don't know what it was, but they don't even have the same names. So until I can get like a chart of a cow and say, okay, I want from this section right here. Yeah, you can't get it. Yeah, I know. I listened to Dr. Bright, like from Italy, or like, let's see, Laura Spath when she was in Spain. I'm like, yes, you get it. My problem. Exactly. It's not the same in a different country where they just don't make the same cuts and they don't call them the same thing and they don't cook them the same way. So
Yeah.
it doesn't work well. Hmm.
So, uh, how is the situation with diabetes in Mexico? I mean, I imagine the diet's very
Huge.
corn-based, right? It's
Very corn based. The favorite food in this part, this is not like in the rest of Mexico has the things that you've heard of, like tacos, enchiladas, that sort of thing. Over here, they eat, it's a little bit different. They call it a salbut, and salbutes are made from a masa, which is like corn dough that is that's a little bit thicker, and they fry it, and then they put the meat, and theirs is just a very different. Their flavoring is very different here. Panuchos, they put a little bit of beans on it, black beans over here. They don't use brown beans like they do in the rest of Mexico. And so all the peninsula is just got a different kind of food. So it's delicious, but they do stuff with eggs. That's one of their main things, like boiled eggs. They use a lot of boiled eggs, but diabetes is huge because it's not just that, it's the rice, the beans, the tortilla, and they use a lot of French bread to make tortas. So they make like a French loaf, a piece of French bread that's about this size, and they cut it and put the meat on it. So when I go out with people, I just buy the thing and I just get a fork and just eat the meat. But it's not very much meat. So I'm like, they're eating like one or two, and I'm like, give me four, you know,
so.
because
Do you
I'm
get
like, all
any?
I'm going to eat is the meat. So,
Do you get any strange looks from people?
oh, yes, I get a lot of strange looks, especially at McDonald's. I went to McDonald's over in Merida. Merida is like the capital of Yucatan. Beautiful, 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 beautiful city. Gosh, I love it. But we were shopping, trying to replenish everything that was in the house. It's, because we've been gone. And so I went over to McDonald's and I can get two patties and I know they're cooked well and they're not cooked in grease, in oil, seed oil. So I'm like, okay, this will do. And, but they look at me so funny, like, and the girl said, oh, I remember you've been here before. And so I said, yes, I have. I tried to get it on their app and it didn't work. But yeah, that's what I do when I'm out and about. They look at me funny,
No.
but then they're like, okay, no, no bun, no, click that box, honey, it ain't there.
At least they'll sell you the meat only. At least they'll sell you just
Yeah,
the patties. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. Wendy's does there's a Wendy's here nearby, and I'm sure the other ones, but I just don't like them. I don't like Burger King, and so
Yeah.
yeah, it's not my thing. But anyway, but
Nice.
no, those are pretty good. And then at the restaurants, I give it to somebody else, whatever's on my plate that they want to serve it. Okay, but they don't have to waste it. I tell them I don't need it.
So, going forward, you think you're gonna stick with this plan?
Oh yeah, no, this is forever. This is forever because you're only getting older, so things will only get worse if you don't take care of it. And my hope is to inspire others here. I want them to see, wow, no, you really did okay. Like my friends back home, first they were like, whoa, that's pretty intense, Lisa. And then I'm like, well, but then after a year, they're like, Well, I'm really proud of you. You've stuck with it this whole time and you've maintained it. You've gone down a little bit. And I've seen that some of there's a lot of excess skin and stuff at this age. It's not like spring chicken that their skin might bounce back a little faster, but mine was kind of bleh. But anyway, it's not so bad anymore, but it just gets better, I think. And my driver has come along and is also doing that. There's somebody who's doing shows in Spanish now, who is fluent in English, and he kind of takes some of the information from, either, all the influencers, the doctors, et cetera, mostly the doctors, I would say, on YouTube, and then translates it to Spanish and then conveys it in short videos. Yeah, it's amazing. So I would love to get a thing to be able to set up a clinic, like a nutritionist or whatever, clinic here, because I love these people. I love my neighbors. I love my friends here, and it's heartbreaking to know that they're facing an early death. The people I know that have died in their 50s and 60s that I've known of, from diabetes, from heart attack, from stroke, that are on dialysis or get sepsis because they're just so full of um, of I guess insulin and glucose, et cetera. But nothing. What's not checked, they don't have glucometers here. It's not like when I went to the doctor that they gave me that was part of my first visit. Here, you get one of these. You know, so you can check, do a little glucometer thing. It didn't work all that great as far as me being faithful with it. So, I mean, a CGM is better for me because I don't remember to do it. I'm just like, doink. I don't,
Yeah.
I forget.
Wow.
So,
So if you were giving someone advice about how to start with carnivore, what would you tell them to do?
well, I would say it's easiest to go bit by bit, to pull out all the sugar first, stop all the sugary drinks, no desserts. If you stop that and switch to Diet Coke, over here, people will drink a liter of Coke every evening. They're eating supper right about, it is almost 9 o'clock my time, and it is time for supper. And they're eating a yogurt and a Coke, a sweetened yogurt, a sweetened yogurt with fruit and a Coke. Or they might eat a piece of fruit, but they don't know that, they just think that's being healthy, but they don't know how much sugar. I'm like, honey, it's 46 grams of carb in one banana. I love you, but that's deathly for you, you know? And so they just don't know. They don't know. So I would say cut out the sugars, and then cut out the fruits. And then after you're used to that a few weeks, then, you know, for, a month or two, then go to cutting down your carbs and cut out all your grains, your rice, maybe not beans and potatoes right away, but because they at least have an itty bit of protein, and then, or at least the beans, not much. And cut those things out next. And then finally cut out your greens. Now, it's hard for people to believe it, but honestly, I just I see what it does to their skin, to their inside, to their gut, the leaky gut that happens as a result. Why that friend of mine died of sepsis, at 50 or 60. It's not good.
So, Lisa, is there a way that people can reach out to you? Do you have any way of getting in contact?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Lisa Flores Burden. I have not started a video of any sort. I've wanted to. I really want to do it like in Spanish, but I don't know what approach to take. I need advice on that sort of thing. I don't, you know what I mean? But I think there's a huge realm for it here and everywhere. It's just everywhere. Everyone needs to know how much it would mean. So I've got to do it. I just need to focus on it, on that, as being an important thing. I'm on Twitter, um, but and I'm on YouTube, and I even have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted anything of essence. I think I've done one little video saying hello, and that's it.
No, no worries. Well, I'll link to your Facebook at least below. Um, Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, Lisa. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I enjoy your show so much, and I really enjoyed sharing with everybody. I hope that it causes somebody to take hope and take steps to improve their future.